I'm well prepared for any little accident. My friend over at Zen Glass Studios says that if there's not at least one fire a day, he's not making money. He runs a lot of students through his shop. Close calls are part of the deal." Savannah felt her heart pounding, and she huffed out a breath. Near accidents caused an after effect, but they were far better than a real accident. She felt her confidence drop as she thought of her 6 beginner students wielding molten glass inches in front of their faces. Rachel gently pushed Savannah back and folded Faith in her arms.
"Don't fret, sister. It wasn't a problem. You saw how quickly Savannah put out the fire."
Faith lowered her hands and gulped a shuddering breath. "I'm so sorry." Savannah put a hand on each twin's shoulder. "You both enjoyed the sand etching class, didn't you?" The twins stepped apart, looked at each other, and then glanced away. "Remember that, and give flameworking a chance. I won't hear a word about quitting until you've gotten to the end of today's class."
"But,"
chirped Faith. Savannah pointed like a teacher. "Back to your workstations." Rachel and Faith returned to their work stools. They folded their hands and raised their chins. They looked ready to pay attention to the first lesson in making a glass bead. Savannah sighed deeply. Her relief that no one had been injured was both personal and calculating. An accident could tarnish the reputation of the family-owned glass shop that she had inherited from her father. Even though her small business was doing well, it would all collapse in the wake of burning the whole building down. She turned to the other 3 new students. "This might have been the best unplanned lesson ever. This is not a risk-free art form." They were wide-eyed and solemn with nodding heads. "I'll expect your full attention during the safety briefing." She scooped up the sodden lump of burned sweater with a dustpan and dumped it into the trash bin. It stood next to the 50-gallon drum that contained their unusable glass. It was nearly full and would need dumping into the bright blue city recyclables bin in the next day or so. Today was her first afternoon teaching a workshop in glass bead creation. The method called flame working, or sometimes lamp working, utilized acetylene torches fastened to the front of each table, facing away from the students. The beads were formed by manipulating colored glass rods through the flame. Safety for the students was always Savannah's primary worry when working with an open flame, so she had been testing the torches one by one when Faith let the sleeve of her sweater catch fire. To accommodate her growing student clientele, Savannah had installed all the student workstations in the newly acquired expansion space of Webb's glass shop. She owned the entire building, so when one of her long-term tenants retired and closed their art supply retail business, she took the opportunity to expand. Luckily, the expanded classroom was adjacent to her current location. Savannah hired contractors to remove the adjoining wall and create a larger student space. That left 2 more businesses in her building that still held on to their leases. One was a nail salon and the other a consignment shop. She rarely raised her rent more than 2% a year because loyalty meant so much more to her than risking an empty rental. Because the flame-working torches needed powerful exhaust fans to remove noxious fumes and expel clouds of glass dust, she had placed the workstations on the back wall facing the alley and had a contractor knock small holes into the outside wall for the fans. The construction work on the 6-station teaching space was finished mere minutes before the class began at 1 o'clock this afternoon. There was a little space for her personal station, but students brought money in the door so that work would be finished later. All but 1 student had shown up early to learn bead making. They had also gotten an unplanned show and prime example of the dangers of working with an open flame. The bell over the entry door jangled. "Am I too late?" asked a 30-something tall woman dressed in muscle-hugging black athletic wear. "Have I missed something important?" Her pale face flushed, and a sheen of sweat formed on her brow. Savannah walked into the display room and led her into the new classroom. "A little, but you're in good time." Savannah shook her head. "We've had a bit of delay getting started. Anyway, you're the last one to arrive, so our class is complete."